So earlier this week, the ceasefire between Israel and Hamas broke down. And directly after that, Israeli forces launched strikes into Gaza. Now, there is much finger pointing and, of course, blame being laid at the feet of Israel for the breakdown of the ceasefire. But let's remember that things are not what happened in a single instant. You can't just take Israel's strike and go, well, that's what violated the ceasefire. That's simply not realistic, and that's not how the world works. If we look at the last almost 60 days of this ceasefire, Hamas repeatedly violated it. From not providing the names of hostages to be released until the very last moment, exceeding the own deadline that they had agreed to the shameful displays they put the hostages through in their last moments, being paraded on stage in those strange ceremonies that they held. So Israel decided to act against Hamas and Islamic Jihad this week. They launched airstrikes against leadership and have taken out many key members of the Hamas leadership and Islamic Jihad leadership in Gaza. And now, while there is going to be renewed protests against Israel, while there's going to be renewed condemnations, it's all predictable. Nobody wanted this war. Nobody wants war, period. But we cannot forget about the hostages. We must continue to speak out for the hostages, because that is what this is about. If you want to talk about Israel today, talk about the hostages being held. If you want to talk about what's going on in the Middle East, talk about the hostages being held and demand that they are released. This military campaign, Israel's leaders have said, is about exerting pressure on Hamas to have real negotiations. Not for Hamas to keep changing the goalposts as they see fit. They want real negotiations, and they want the hostages freed. It's been almost 550 days. This is absolutely abhorrent. And I've seen activists slamming Israel, saying, how could Israel launch strikes during the Muslim month of Ramadan? There is so much evidence that Hamas have been trying to stoke up and inflame tensions during this month. What is meant to be a month of prayer and fasting and reflection for Muslims, Hamas have tried to weaponize for their anti-Semitic ideology to create more violence and terror. Hamas has been rearming, planning further October 7th style attacks in Israel during the ceasefire. But these same people who are so up in arms about all of this are completely silent as for so many holidays, for Passover, for Hanukkah, for Rosh Hashanah, a full circle of Jewish life, hostages have been held in Gaza and are still being held. Yes, hostages have been released, but there are still people being held. And until they all come home, we cannot stop speaking up. And we are so thankful that hostages have come home, that have been reunited with their family. But as long as there are people being held against their will in Gaza, those who are kidnapped on October 7th, we cannot remain silent and we cannot lose focus. This is Kasim Hafeez for the CUFI Weekly. For Zion's sake, do not remain silent. Thanks for checking out this episode. Be sure to like and subscribe so you get a notification every time a new episode hits. And if you want to check out some of our previous episodes, and we've got some really good ones, click on one of the thumbnails and that will take you right there. And finally, if you want to know more about CUFI and the work we do, go to cufi.org to check out all the resources we have available free to you.